Everyone in Africa knows who this guy is. Jamaica's most famous export, reggae superstar Bob Marley. Long after his death, Bob Marley and reggae music remained widely popular globally, but particularly across the African continent. So, what made Africans fall in love with reggae?
I wanna love you and treat you right.
Firstly, to me, it is the most pro-black African-centered music on the planet, to me. It is uncompromisingly black, politically black, culturally, racially, spiritually, whatever, African.
When I was growing up in Tanzania, my parents had this Bob Marley cassette we used to listen to for hours in the car. I still know the lyrics to some of the songs by heart. But back then, I didn't know that I was listening to a legend. Today, reggae still has millions of fans across Africa.
I normally listen to reggae every day.
Because the reggae taught me how politicians is. First, I don't know how politicians' life is. I always see they'll go and vote, do this. But reggae taught me how politicians is. Nobody taught me, not from school, but reggae, through reggae.
The mother and father of reggae, I must say, that would be Bob Marley. When you come to Africa, you talk about the late Lucky Dube.
That made me curious about why we Africans still love reggae so much and why many fans identify with this type of music. Before we move on, here's a brief history of reggae. The music genre was born in the 1960s in the Caribbean island of Jamaica. In the early 70s, it was popularized across the globe by artists like Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, Johnny Nash, and Burning Spear. Reggae became so popular in Africa that it even made a huge political impact. In 1980, for example, Bob Marley performed at the celebration for Zimbabwe's independence.
Bob Marley had the kinds of messages that were relevant to the time. They were relevant in a very universal and global way. The issues of struggle, the issues of defeating oppression, they were relevant in Africa as well. Given the nature of the time, the struggles against apartheid, the economic exploitation, the situation in Zimbabwe, and the war, the ongoing civil conflicts there that he articulated on his 1979 album Survival, which I do believe is Marley's best album.
The sound of reggae seems to be one secret to why it's so loved in Africa. Lekentle Mkhala sees a special connection between Africa and reggae in Jamaica's history of slavery.
The reggae music was made popular in Jamaica by the Jamaicans, specifically Africans who lived in Jamaica. So it's like they carried the sound of Africa to Jamaica and they started to improvise, use what, it's in their genes, like the drums and that, to create the sound they call reggae. So when we here at Africa, listen to reggae, it's like, no, but I know this song. It's all the genetic coding that comes with the sound and the melody and the rhythm.
That's also the opinion of Professor William Henry, aka Les Lyrics. Apart from teaching sociology at the University of West London, he is also one of the UK's oldest reggae DJs.
I'm not in a position to say, but I believe it's always been of the continent. It's a bit like coming back home. You're sending something home that is already familiar.
So, to many Africans, the reggae rhythms sound familiar, kind of African, and that's why they love them so much. Another crucial aspect to the appeal of reggae in Africa is the message behind many lyrics, especially songs from reggae's roots era of the late 60s and 70s. Some call this the original type of reggae or reggae's golden age.
I think that the commonalities really would have appealed to African audiences because a lot of the social circumstances and economic circumstances were actually the same.
Many influential Jamaican reggae stars are Rastafaris. Rastafarianism is a religion and a movement that originated in Ethiopia. In fact, many Jamaican Rastas revere the former Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie and consider him a prophet or a deity.
For a lot of Rastas, His Majesty is Jesus. He's that Christ-like figure, the Redeemer, the ultimate Redeemer. So it's more than just him being the emperor, because they will link everything biblically right back to the line of David.
Now, what I've often noticed in my home country, Tanzania, is that people don't seem to have a problem with reggae, but they do have a problem with what some call the Rasta lifestyle. The dreadlocks, the songs that praise marijuana. Rastas are often met with prejudices across African societies.
The Rasta culture is embraced by high school and university kids, and only through the smoking of weed, not for its activism, not for its propagation of peace and love and unity, but mostly for smoking weed.
Reggae artists sometimes feel pressured to sing about marijuana, weed, ganja, cannabis, or however you want to call it, because it's part of being real.
I think here again, we are probably dealing with some issues of cultural authenticity. And what I mean by this is that while reggae artists are certainly not obligated to make marijuana references in their songs, if they were to actively oppose that, it would go against many of the practices, the value systems, and expectations of their audiences.
In Western countries, criticism of dancehall in particular has sometimes been that some of the lyrics are calling for discrimination and violence against members of the LGBT community. This homophobia is often believed to stem from the artist's deep religious belief that homosexual relationships are a sin.
This is a little test. What anyone who's listening to this can do. If you hear a Jamaican artist speaking homophobic lyrics, ask him where he got it from. And I guarantee they will quote every chapter and verse out the Bible that condemns homosexuality. From Leviticus, whatever it is, to whatever. They'll do it. Because that's what we were fed.
There's a campaign named Stop Murder Music that calls for reggae and dancehall artists to abstain from using hateful language and from calling for violence against gays and lesbians. While many African fans have conservative views on homosexuality, homophobic lyrics are not the reason why they would choose to listen to reggae. Reggae may have evolved a lot since the 1960s, and right now many young African fans prefer listening to dancehall because it's more upbeat. But the key message remains the same: one love.
One love, one